What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week of NFL picks, and welcome to the second half of the season. We are officially right at that halfway point, and this is where the games start to get more important. This is where obviously the weather is getting cooler outside, and this is where you start to get down to the home stretch. So, some great games this week. We're going to get all into it. Last week, I went 8-6. Overall season record at the halfway point 84-50-1. And looking at the teams on bye weeks this week, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on a bye, the Dallas Cowboys on a bye. Two teams that, really they had very important games these past couple weeks they weren't able to capitalize on, and really does now leave them further out of the playoff picture on the outside. The Kansas City Chiefs, who, if the season ended today, would actually not be in the playoffs. But, of course, it's only the first half. We still have a whole other half to go. And Kansas City gets that bye. We got a great time. And then the Tennessee Titans at 1-8. Really, just for them, it's you want to see how Cam Ward develops. That's basically the story for Tennessee at this point. But heading into the games, first game, Thursday night football. And I'll say this, there's a lot of games this week I feel like that could be trap games. But I feel like I'm going to pick, against my better conscience and, go with my brain in a lot of these instances. The Denver Broncos hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. The Broncos are a very quiet but also very impressive 7-2. They're playing great defense. Sean Payton is getting the most out of Bo Nix. The Raiders, they've been entertaining at times. They've been in these games. Ultimately, they can't finish them off. Now, I do think this could be a trap game just because short week, Denver, you're riding that 6 game winning streak. And when that winning streak continues to grow, it also feels like it becomes more fragile because you are due to lose another game eventually. But I think this being a short week, you go up to Denver. I do think the Broncos take care of business, and I do think they pick up the win here. So I'm going to pick the Broncos to win. Go to 8-2 on the year. The Raiders fall to 2-7. And hanging into the Sunday action. And first and foremost, we got our Germany game, the Falcons and the Colts. And look, as a Falcons fan, I've made it pretty clear I'm done buying into the team. And I will say there is a little bit of a gut feeling telling me the Falcons might just find a way to win this game. But with all the O-line injuries and, just the Colts, they're coming off a loss. They're going to be looking to bounce back. These international games, it does feel like really they could go any way, and they truly are 50-50. I truly think with the international games, it determines just a part of it is how teams settle in to that overseas environment. And I feel like that could have a factor in it. But the Colts, look, they're winning games. Jonathan Taylor has been on an absolute just monster pace this season. And, with the Falcons' run defense being the weak link of that defense, I got to pick the Colts here. I got to pick the Colts. I do think it's another game. It could be a trap game, but I got to pick the Colts. I just feel like they're going to have a better job controlling the game and being consistent, and that's what it's going to come down to. So give me the Colts to win. Next, you want to talk about a snooze fest? Here's one. The Browns and the Jets. Jets, they're coming off a bye week. Browns, they're coming off a bye week. Jets coming off their first win of the year, so riding a little bit of momentum. And for Cleveland, been about what you would expect really for both teams. It's a game that could go either way, but it being in New York, it feels like the Jets they'll find a way to get this done, and they'll find a way to get another win. So I'll pick the Jets in a close game, 24-22, to get their second win of the year. Next, the Carolina Panthers. They have really been under the radar, but they're over 500. Ever since that 0-2 start, they have been winning games They are winning with their running game, winning with solid defense. They're winning, how you want to be winning, especially heading into the late parts of the season. Now, division matchup can always throw you off. You are welcoming the Saints in. The Saints are absolutely awful. I could see the Saints giving Carolina a little bit of a run for their money and staying in the game, but in the end, I think the Panthers they pick up the win. I think they go to 6-4. I think the Panthers reach that 6-win mark before Thanksgiving. And Carolina has typically been a 5-win team over really the past 6 years, and they are definitely getting better. And for the Saints, they're worst team in the league. There's really not much else to be said. Next game, and this might be game of the week. One of the most anticipated games. It's the Tom Brady Bowl. It's the Patriots. It's the Bucks, and it is two powerhouses going at it this season. New England riding a 6-game winning streak. Tampa, one of their best starts in franchise history. They are atop the NFC right now in firm control of the NFC South. They're at home, and this is really a game it feels like could go either way. But, at the end of the day, New England, they're riding that winning streak. It feels like it's due to come to an end. Tampa coming off their bye week well rested. New England did play around against the Falcons. So I do think we see that the Patriots are due for a loss, and I think they're going to lose here. I think Tampa gets a win. I think they go to 7-2. I think it's a close game, but I think you're once again going to see that Tampa offense show up with Baker Mayfield. You're going to see him once again put the Bucks, on his back and will them to victory once again. Next, the Ravens and the Vikings, two teams in similar positions trying to stay alive. Obviously, Baltimore, they're riding a 2-game winning streak. Their season, it definitely feels like is alive now with Lamar Jackson back. And the Vikings getting an impressive win in Detroit. So, this was really probably the toughest game to pick all week. It feels like it could go either way. It's in Minnesota, so I feel like you do have to respect that. But with Lamar being back and the Ravens starting to gain momentum, it's going to be a tough one. I feel like, it's going to be high scoring, but I'm actually going to pick the Ravens. I think the Ravens, they pull it out. I think they get a win, high scoring 30-27. Baltimore moves to 4-5 and stacks another win. Next, the Bills and the Dolphins, and this is one of those games. I don't think there's really much explanation. I think the Bills are going to win. We saw the Bills get a big win versus the Chiefs. We're going to see the Bills continue to roll it and really, position themselves to get back atop the AFC. So give me Buffalo to win 34-14. I think they win big. Next, the Giants and the Bears. This is another game that, you always look at. You say, could there be some trap games? Maybe this is a potential one. But in Chicago, the Bears have definitely been improved. You see that team is playing hard for Ben Johnson right now. The Giants, ever since Scadaboo went out, that was their energy source. And with him now out, it's gonna be tough for them. So I'm gonna pick the Bears to win. I think they get it done. Give me the Bears 27-14 to go to 6-3 on the year. Giants fall to 2-8. And another divisional matchup, this time in the AFC South. The Jaguars and the Texans. Really, both teams, it feels like, they're in interesting positions in the playoff mix. Jacksonville, is right on the inside and they're right on that bubble. Houston's still trying to stay alive. It really does feel like that, a win here could definitely keep Houston alive, and Houston does need that game. Jacksonville won the matchup earlier in the year, so it feels like Houston has to take the rematch, and I think they will. I think it's a close game, but I do ultimately think that the Texans pull away with it in a close one to really stay in the thick of the playoff race. Next, heading into the late window, Cardinals and Seahawks. And in another division matchup, and Seattle has been absolutely rolling so far. Jackson Smith and the Jigba is on pace for a historic season. Sam Darnold has really. There's a lot of guys that have been playing like MVP candidates. I feel like you got to put Sam Darnold, on top of that list. He has been balling out this year. He has been proving that Seattle absolutely made the right decision bringing him in. And, the Seahawks, they can play good defense. They obviously had that big win versus Washington on Sunday night. Cardinals coming in off a win versus Dallas. Really, I feel like that is a win they needed to have, especially after going up so big. But, the thing is with Seattle, they're just a better team. And, I definitely could see it being close concerning it's a division game. But I think Jason gets going. I think Seattle does what they do best late. I think we're going to see the Seahawks come away what they win and go to 7-2 on the year. Next, the Lions and Commanders. And Washington, the season is officially on a downward spiral. Jane Daniels is out. Everyone is injured for Washington. Um, as far as the Lions go, coming off a loss to the Vikings, you really do need a game like this. I think the Lions are going to come out and respond. I think you're going to see Detroit put up some points on defense or on offense, especially with a lot of injuries to that Commanders defense. I'm going to go, I think Detroit, they go over 40. I'm going to pick the Lions to win, and they go to 6-3 on the year. Washington, once again, drops another game. It's obviously been a very disappointing season for them. And another division matchup, the Rams and the 49ers. This is a very important game, I especially think when you are looking at potential playoff implications. The Rams obviously have been atop the NFC. They are right in the thick of that division race. But the 49ers, they're not talked about a lot, but they're 3-0 in that division so far. They got to win versus the Rams earlier this year on Thursday night. They're looking to pull off the sweep. But I do think that the Rams are going to come more prepared this time. The Rams have obviously gained a lot of momentum, so I think the Rams, they come out. I think they're going to get the rematch here, and they take advantage. So I think the Rams, they win and they go to 7-2 on the year. Sunday night football from SoFi Stadium. Steelers, Chargers. It's going to be an interesting game, but I also think it feels like a game that, the Chargers, they're never going to fully be able to put away, but it feels like they are going to have control all the way throughout. It feels like they're going to get the run game going. Herbert's going to be able to make some plays here and there. It's a classic Jim Harbaugh game that he comes out and, he leads the Chargers to victory. So I think the Chargers, they get a win. I'll say 24-17, and they get their seventh win of the year. They go to 7-3. Final game of the year, Monday night, and this game is obviously has a lot of storylines surrounding it. The Packers, they're coming off, a tough loss to the Panthers. They're welcoming in the defending champs in Philly, and another important matchup with playoff implications. But I do think that the Packers, they're looking to bounce back. They want to get over that hump of the Eagles. The Eagles beat them twice last year. Green Bay is going to look to top them, especially in Lambeau. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick the Packers to win. I think they get it done. Look, there's a lot of important games this week with playoff implications when you look really down to it. So definitely makes it a great week of football to watch. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for bearing with me throughout, listening to my voice. Obviously, I've been feeling a little under the weather, but thank you for watching. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share, and I will see you all in the next one.